Captain Marvel is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one inept series to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the sixth version. The first series that was designed was quite naturally perfect. It was a work of art, flawless, sublime, a triumph equaled only by its monumental failure. The inevitability of its doom is as apparent now as a consequence of the imperfection inherent in every overrated author. Thus, it was redesigned based on lame headcanon to more accurately reflect the varying grotesqueries of the author's uncreativeness. However, it was again frustrated by failure. Marvel Comics stumbled upon a solution whereby nearly 99% of all fake fans accepted the series, as long as they were given the choice to not actually buy it, even if they were only aware of that choice at a near unconscious level. While this answer functioned, it was obviously fundamentally flawed, thus creating the otherwise contradictory inevitable failure that, if left unchecked, might threaten the series itself. Ergo, those that refused to purchase the series, while a minority, if unchecked, would constitute an escalating probability of disaster. Denial is the most predictable of all posers' responses, but rest assured, this will be the sixth time Marvel has canceled the series, and they have become exceedingly efficient at it. So Captain Marvel got canceled. Again. For the sixth time. That alone is shocking since the series has barely been out for a decade, but that's only if you ignore how Marvel treats its series. Number one issues used to bring in new readers, so the idea at Marvel was to take a failing series and relaunch it with a new number one to get people to buy the book. That worked for a while, until Marvel began doing this constantly, even with books that were popular. They wore out the gimmick, and so it stopped working, not that anyone at Marvel noticed. There's still relaunching titles even though everyone is in on the gimmick. That's one of the reasons Captain Marvel has had so many relaunches. The other was to tie into the launch of the Ms. Marvel comic and the Captain Marvel film, neither of which worked. The series continued to tank in sales and has never been popular or a bestseller. However, this last cancellation is a special kind of stupid. From the press release, quote, "This June marks the end of an era for Carol Danvers. Writer Kelly Thompson will wrap up her extraordinary run on the character in Captain Marvel number 50, a double-sized issue featuring art by Javier Pina and David Lopez." Normally, 50th issues are milestones for comics, and usually reserved for a major event in the series' run. It is, or at least was, part of the joy of collecting comics. So why cancel Captain Marvel at issue 50? It's not over sales. If that were true, it would have been canceled back in 2012. No, this is probably to tie in with the Marvels film, except that comes out in November, and the book is getting canned in June. So for 5 months there will be no Carol Danvers books because synergy. You can see how much sense that makes, just like the press release. Quote, "As one of the longest running writers on the character ever, Thompson's run will go down in Marvel Comics history. 50 issues of thrilling adventures, uplifting character-defining breakthroughs, and awesome powerhouse feats that are destined to inspire generation after generation of readers." I'm sure it'll do that for anyone who read the books, but since no one does, we'll just have to take your word for it. I do give Marvel's PR team credit. They're making this book sound a hell of a lot better than it actually is. It continues, quote, "From incredible story arcs like the revolutionary re-entry and Carol's dark turn in The Last Avenger, to pivotal tie-ins to some of Marvel's biggest events like War of the Realms and Empire, Captain Marvel has been a Marvel must-read since the very start. So much so that it's been one of Marvel's lowest-selling titles for a decade." But clearly Marvel doesn't care about that, otherwise they would have shelved the series a long time ago. So that makes their decision to cancel this volume very weird. Why not let the series continue and just start a new story arc in issue 50 that ties into the Marvels film? No one's going to be confused by this, and again, it's not like anyone's tripping over themselves for Carol Danvers comics. The other weird part about this is that this is technically Marvel's longest running series, thanks to all the relaunches, and it's barely 4 years old. It debuted in January 2019. With the cancellation of Captain Marvel, the next oldest title will be X-Force, which came out in November of that year. Why would you cancel your longest running series just to relaunch it a few months later for a movie tie-in? Decisions like this make it seem like no one at Marvel takes their business seriously. It's all gimmicks to get you to buy the books instead of solid storytelling and art, which would keep you buying the books. My guess is that someone thinks telling everyone that the book that no one's buying is coming to an end will get them to buy the book for the 50th milestone. But Marvel's already made the numbering meaningless with the relaunches and legacy numbering. That's Marvel counting all the issues of the different volumes in the series. It seems like it would be better for Marvel to just do a tie-in for the movie instead of another relaunch for a book that barely sells. Speaking of which, Monica Rambeau's book has barely brought out a peep from readers, and Miss Marvel currently has no book despite her being touted as the bestest fan favorite character ever. These are supposedly 3 of the most popular comic book characters out today, and barely anyone reads their books. And now you've got a major motion picture coming out featuring all of them, but with no Avengers Endgame to use to get butts into seats. Whose brilliant idea was it to use the least popular and least successful characters for the next phase of the MCU films? What a mess. Or as Marvel Comics would say, business as usual. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.